yourself, Tim, since you're gonna kick us off.
Okay.
For those of you joining us, we're going to give it a couple of minutes before we start our session. I kind of think of 4:02, 4:03 as that magic start time, just to give a couple of minutes here.
Great. All right. Well, should I go ahead and get started?
I'll go in just a second here.
Okay.
Okay, so just a couple of announcements. Thank you for joining us today. We definitely appreciate it. You can use the Q&A function of Zoom to ask questions at any point in time. However, please know that most of our panelists will actually answer questions at the end of their sessions. Your camera and microphone are automatically off, so panelists cannot see or hear you, which is why it is important to use the Q&A function to ask any questions that you may have. This is one of many sessions hosted by InACAC, which is INACAC.org. Please note this session is being recorded and the session will be shared with you at the end of the session. I am going to turn it over to our presenters. I will come back at the end to wrap up with some questions and some next steps in the process. But at this point in time, it's time to learn a little bit more about Butler University.
And what an exciting thing to learn about. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for a little bit of info about Butler and a student panel as well. My name is Tim C., one of the admission counselors at Butler. I am joined, as you see on the screen here, by my colleagues Clint and Katie, who will have the chance to introduce themselves in just a moment as well. Before we get started, I just want to quickly give a rundown of the next 40 to 45 minutes, what we're going to be covering. So in just a moment, I'm going to hand things off to Katie to talk a little bit about the academics that are offered at Butler. Clint will give you some information about the application process, the admission process at Butler. And then we're going to make way for our student panel and have them, let them tell you about what life is like as a current student on Butler's campus. So please feel free, as we are going to submit those questions in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to get to those when we get to that student panel. So with all of that said, Katie, I will hand things off to you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you all for joining us today. We are more than eager to share all about the Butler experience and what that could look like for you as a potential student. So to kick things off, let's look about Butler from sort of a bird's eye view. Butler is just shy of about 5,000 students. We're located here in the heart of Indianapolis in the state of Indiana. And with that shy number of 5,000, we get to see an average class size of 22 students with an 11-to-1 to student to faculty ratio. I really think these numbers are key to the student experience overall. Having that average class size capped at that number really allows the Butler student experience to be met one-on-one, meaning you're not going to see that lecture hall style environment, instead a lot more roundtable discussion, interaction with your professors and peers during course time. And then of course, with that student faculty ratio kept at 11-to-1, you're going to have plenty of opportunity for office hour, meeting outside of class in the mornings and the evenings and the weekends to really get to know your faculty and professors. This could be for current course load or for future career aspirations and goals outside of that specific class. And this has all led Butler to being the #1 regional university in the Midwest. And we're really proud of these two numbers leading us to that goal. So when it comes to Butler, we're one university with 6 different college identities capped underneath. So here you see a list of all we have to offer. I'll give a slight glance on each of these individually, but we really encourage you to check out our website where you can dive even deeper into all 6 of these colleges. So we have the College of Communication, the College of Education, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, Jordan College of the Arts, and the Lacey School of Business. You see here, there's a lot of different personalities along with opportunity within these 6 different colleges. What I love to mention to current and prospective students is the opportunity to double major or pick up a minor within a specific college or across some overall. So knowing at Butler, you're going to have a diverse education where you can really build and match your future path. You will never have an identical course schedule to any other student that's gone to Butler, and I really think that speaks true the individual opportunity you will receive. Alongside of that as well, I love to mention our Liberal Arts Foundation that all 6 colleges share and all students do as well as Butler. It's our goal that when you leave Butler, you're leaving as a strong communicator, thinker, problem solver, writer, speaker, presenter, professional overall. And so having that core curriculum here amongst these 6 colleges really speak loudly the volume of the education you will receive. A little bit too about coming to Butler is the student experience overall, and so that involves some of our first year housing options. We just like to give a sneak preview to what it may look like to live at Butler. Irvington House Residential College and Ross Hall are 3 of the first year housing options. Butler students will actually live on campus for their first 3 years. And this is a really great benefit as you can focus on student activities and your academics, along with things such as internships, club sports, being involved in community service, without having that extra pressure of what a living environment may look like. You're also living with Butler peers, and so being able to share that bulldog spirit through all aspects of your college experience really amps up the Butler way. And I did mention this earlier on, and I'm going to touch on it once again. Here we are in the city of Indianapolis. This is the 17th largest city in the US. I like to share that it's the biggest small town you will ever see. What the great opportunities the city has to offer, not only personally, but professionally for our students. You'll see our students heading down to the canal or Monument Circle to grab a cup of coffee, enjoy some well-known tacos, or perhaps hit up a Colts game on a Sunday afternoon. Alongside that, however, our students are having the most exceptional internship opportunities. This can be with major sports arenas, top of the chart companies such as Salesforce or Eli Lilly, really being able to take that professional opportunity to the next level. Having the city less than 10 minutes in our backyard of our campus really allows Butler students to grow, like I said, both personally and professionally during their time on campus. We often also see a lot of Butler students stick around after graduation and enjoy their time as an alumni. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to hand things off to Clint. He's going to share about the admission process at Butler and how as an admission counselor we can best serve you.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today. My name is Clinton Bob. I'm one of the associate directors in the Office of Admission. I get the privilege of sharing a little bit about the admission process, specifically how it relates to Butler. We'll start very quickly with some academic metrics or stats that Katie shifted to in the slides. We share these because these are typically questions that we get often. Most notably, what do I have to have from an ACT, GPA, test score range to be admissible to Butler? And while we don't have necessarily set minimums when it comes to the admission requirements, these are good ranges to kind of look at as guides through the process. A disclaimer that these are not guarantees for admission, nor are they exclusions from admission. So do note that 25% of the incoming class each year are below and above these ranges. However, these have historically been strong predictors of admission eligibility and scholarship eligibility, for that matter, when you're looking at things from just an academic metrics standpoint. Please also know that when we look at admission at Butler, we're more holistic in the approach. We're going to be looking at these types of data points, admission information. However, it is just one piece of the overall picture. We look at, as an example, involvement outside the classroom, your essay, letters of recommendation. We also look at those numbers in respect to things like GPA in types of classes that you're taking, things like honors, AP, advanced level courses. So trying to determine what that number is and how that translates as far as the academic course completed. I will also share that those numbers that were on the previous slide are not necessarily just a snapshot or one specific picture of time. ACT and SAT ranges at Butler are based on super scores. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that process, the way that works at Butler and at many schools is we take each test that you've completed and we take the individual subsections of that test to form a new overall university super score. We do that for both the ACT and the SAT, as well as for both admission and for scholarship purposes. And then the GPA, obviously being above a 4.0, you can see there, shows that we do take weighted grades. So if your school does have a weighting policy, that will be what we use. So moving to the admission requirements, specifically when we look at documentation and what it means to actually complete an application at Butler, these are going to be just a quick snapshot or list of things that you'd be required to complete. I will note that if you end up applying to Butler, we will give you access to a website called your applicant status page, which allows you to kind of track your application as it moves through the process, but also see what types of requirements and documentation may still be missing. The three primary areas are going to be an application of some sort, which can be through our own Butler online application, or the Common App, which is a simplified version or a way to complete several applications by only filling out one form. As a secondary component to that, the writing sample personal statement essay. With the Common App, you have less options, I guess, than you would doing the individual Butler application. Through the Butler application itself, there's opportunities to make graded compositions, or perhaps turn in a personal statement that would be outside of what a traditional essay prompt might be. Think about it this way, though, that the application essay, the prompts, the different opportunities there. One, we will be reviewing your level of writing, but also this is an opportunity for you to illustrate something that maybe isn't otherwise shared throughout the rest of your application. And then the official transcript. And this is going to be obviously where we see those academic metrics, coursework, and so forth. We do accept most, if not all, electronic transcript services, Parchment, DocuFide, eTranscript, Naviance. We also will accept and process mail copies. You can submit all these different pieces of information to the university separately. What we will do is we'll create an online record or a record within our student database for you, and put all these things together almost like an application portfolio. And then the final two options, not real options, but optional items, would be the test scores, resumes, and letters of recommendation. We did move test optional this year, so you can choose to apply without test scores. Do note that there are, in most cases, that's the scenario. However, if you are a homeschool student, or if your high school does not produce GPAs or grades within your transcript, then you will still be required for this academic year to submit test scores. And then resumes and letters of recommendation, while they add to an application at Butler, and we certainly welcome them, not a requirement. Moving forward, just a little bit about the timeline. When you think about what the application cycle looks like in respect to Butler, it certainly aligns with an academic calendar. The window for applying for seniors for the early action deadline is going to be from August 1 up through November the 1st. So we are under a month away for that. And we do recommend applying early action because it generally brings with it the most scholarship opportunity. It brings with it the opportunity to apply for the University Honors Program. It also brings with it an earlier notification. So we guarantee decisions are going to be mailed out and sent out electronically by mid-December. However, for students who've already completed an application, there is an opportunity that you may receive your admission decision as early as this upcoming Friday as we're starting that process. Those admission decisions also will come with an initial scholarship notification. We also recommend during this process to complete the FAFSA to determine if you're eligible for additional awards, whether it be federal, state, or even potential institutional awards. Our recommended deadline for that's going to be December the 1st, so that we can try to get a complete financial aid notification to you by the end of February. And then kind of to conclude here, scholarship information, there's a full list of our awards on our website, but the award that you see listed here is going to be more aligned with what you would consider a merit scholarship based on academic criteria, GPA test scores, and so forth. They do range from $15,000 to $22,000 a year, and we will reconsider you for a new or higher award if you choose to submit a new test score prior to January 15th. I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. Do note that this is all available on our website, and certainly feel free to contact our Office of Admission if you have any questions. With that, I'm going to now turn it over to Tim for the student panel.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for the info. I will again remind everybody that's with us today. Feel free to submit those questions into the chat box. But as maybe you're thinking of those, I would like to go ahead and introduce our student panel. So if our three panelists would like to hop on screen here, and I'll just let each of you, Laura, Leah, and Mario, tell us who you are, where you're coming from, what your major is, what year you are in school. And I'll say, yeah, Laura, you go ahead. You appear first on my screen, so you can lead us off.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name's Laura, and I'm a senior here at Butler, majoring in history, environmental studies. So a double major, and then I have a minor in anthropology. On campus, I'm involved with our tour guide office, so I give tours, and then I also am involved with our student foundation, which works on alumni relations, the honors program, and Greek life.
And then Mario.
Oh, and I'm from Fishers, Indiana.
Perfect. Mario, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Tim. Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Giannini. I'm a senior from Grays Lake, Illinois, which is just another North Chicago suburb. Some stuff I do, well, I'm double majoring in entrepreneurship and innovation and management information systems through the School of Business, and some stuff I do on the side of that is I'm on Dean Student Advisory Committee for the Lacey School of Business. I'm involved in Greek life. I am a member of College Mentors for Kids, which is kind of an intercity mentorship program. I interned abroad in Shanghai, so I have some internship as well as for abroad experience, and then also I'm involved with the tour guide office.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah. I am a sophomore here at Butler. I'm double majoring in economics in the School of Business and peace and conflict studies in our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and I am on the pre-law track. Some things I'm involved in on campus would be giving tours. I am a Butler Student Ambassador. I am on the Service and Philanthropy Board of the Student Government Association, and I also am involved in College Mentors for Kids. And I'm from Columbia City, Indiana, so small farm town in the northeast corner.
All right. Well, again, thanks to the three of you for joining us. As we get these questions coming in, and again, please feel free to submit any that come to mind. Could each of you just give the general why Butler kind of spiel? What was your reason as you were looking at colleges for choosing Butler? What stood out about it? And if you want to just go, just whoever's ready to go first can lead us off.
I can start off with that. So kind of with why I chose Butler, I was one of those kids who applied to 14 universities total. Butler was like middle of the pack. Butler was middle of the pack for me. And really what helped it kind of stand out for me personally was like upon my visit to campus, I never had a formal tour actually to coming to Butler, which is actually kind of funny, even that I'm working in this office, because I never really interacted with any of it prior to that, besides the admissions part. But going in, I really liked overall just kind of the hospitality on campus, which I know is very like a generic statement, but let me expand on that a little bit. So I went to a lot of the larger schools, and I had friends on a lot of larger campuses, and with them, I noticed, people change a little bit when they get to college, of course, but when I met a lot of people, when I had friends that were alumni at Butler as well, and they had really spoken to just kind of how much Butler in and of itself kind of helped expand them as a human being. And that just being in how it's a smaller school, a lot more of your relationships are intentional, and your reputation holds weight. So that was something I really appreciated about that, because I'd be able to make decisions for myself and stand out, but also those decisions would carry weight, and I'd have to react to those. So that was really one of the biggest reasons. And then also for the business school, with being in a large city within the country, by our standards, I think that how our business school and how we were investing more in our business program really attracted me to it, along with being that close to internship opportunities was really attractive to me.
Who would like to go next? Yeah,
I could
for it.
go. I guess I have like a similar but also different answer. I really enjoyed my tour when I came here to Butler. I had a lot of fun on my tour, and it was just a really fun day. Fishers is about 30 minutes away, so I just kind of drove down to Butler with my mom, and I really enjoyed my visit on campus, and I got to meet a lot of different people, and those connections, like you said, Mario, were huge, and you could really feel how personal it was. So when I talk about like why I chose Butler, I always kind of turn it into a why I fell in love with Butler. Like as I became a first year student, and then in my past 3 years here as well, just really making great connections with like fellow classmates and friends. It was really easy to make friends in all of my different classes, since they are relatively small compared to like other universities. You have about like 20 students in a classroom and a professor. So it's really easy to make friends, really easy to get to know the professor. And like Mario said, like that can go a long way, like with your professor knowing who you are. And then also just like building relationships with them. And then outside of the classroom too, it's been really easy to get involved on campus, get involved in the Indianapolis community for internship opportunities, volunteer opportunities. So the community is really great on Butler's campus and in Indianapolis as well.
Awesome. And Leah, how about yourself?
Yeah, so my parents are both high school teachers. So I have been doing college visits since I was very little and didn't even really know we were doing college visits. So I definitely knew I wanted to find a medium school, which was a challenge in itself. I didn't want to go to a school that was so large that I felt like I needed to Google Maps my way to class, or like allot 25 minutes to make sure I was getting to the right building. And I also didn't want to go to a school that was so small that I never felt like I had the opportunity to meet new people. And I was constantly just like overwhelmed with the same people every day. So here at Butler, I personally think I have found the perfect medium-sized school. Like Katie mentioned, we have about 5,000 students. I do not have to Google Maps my way to class. And my favorite part about campus is that we have our academic buildings all in one core area and like the heart of campus. And if you want to make campus bigger and, go to the extracurriculars, go to the athletic side, explore the canal, explore downtown, you absolutely can. And it's not challenging at all. But on days where I just know I need to focus on my academics and I need to just really hunker down and take care of myself, I don't have to go very far. And I'm very close with about 8 or 10 people that I have found to be absolute lifelong friends here at Butler. But I'm really happy to say that I'm still meeting new people through different involvements that I have, and also just on campus, seeing people, saying hello, and having the opportunity to grow in a community here.
And Leah, just quick follow-up question. If you had to ballpark it, how many colleges do you think, how many campuses do you think that you visited?
Oh gosh. A lot, a lot. Intentionally, probably about 30. Unintentionally, far more than that.
Wow. I will ask Mario or Laura, do you think you can beat that number? But I have to guess that the answer is no.
I applied to 3 schools, visited 2. I grew up near Butler. I knew it was great. It was like a shoe-in for me, so that's why I talk about falling in love with Butler once I got here. But wow, 30. Oh my goodness.
And and what does it say about Butler, right? That it stood out amongst all those 30. Okay, well, for each of you, I'd like to touch on experiential learning. It's something that I know that I find myself talking about a lot, really all of the admissions staff, because it's something that stands out for Butler. So whether that's internships, research that maybe you've been involved in, I know study abroad has already come up, but what kinds of experiential learning opportunities have you been able to get involved in over your year so far on campus? Laura, do you want to start?
Sure. So when I was a first year student, I think the first like experiential learning experience that I had was in an intro to environmental studies course. And we actually got to go down to the Center for Urban Ecology and Sustainability on campus farm and do a couple units like outside of the classroom, which was really cool. And we did that fall semester, so it was still summertime and the weather was beautiful. And it was a lot of fun getting outside of the classroom. But other than that, I did a summer study abroad program in Amsterdam, and it was a Butler faculty-led program. And there were a wide variety of courses offered for what we were actually doing in the city. You can get an anthropology credit, a history credit, some core credits with perspective in the creative arts, or I think even one person was taking it for physical well-being since we were walking around the city so much. They just really wanted to get something different instead of their pharmacy curriculum. And so they decided to go on that study abroad program with us. So that was awesome. And then I've also done an internship for the Center for Urban Ecology and Sustainability. So that's a credit that I'm taking right now, which is nice to have some like variation and be outside of the classroom. And then lastly, I'm doing an honors thesis and I'm taking an independent study course for that. So I do get credit for the work I'm putting into that research. And so that will culminate in my honors thesis. But again, it's really nice to have the variety in your curriculum, especially as a senior, so it doesn't get too repetitive.
And Mario, how about you?
Yeah. So actually my first experience, so like in the business school specifically, it's kind of ingrained in our curriculum specifically. So like the 2 internships we were speaking to before, those are actually required through curriculum. Like you take a course that kind of coincides with it, just so you kind of learn the yield of like all the value you're learning throughout it. But more specifically, like in the classroom, so you start off, you're in first year business experience, which is like a hypothetical think tank. They give you a theme, and then essentially where you're going from there with some project, why you're going to make millions off of your idea. But then when you go into real business experience, so you actually get a business to run, so you actually get a loan from the school that you're able to pay back, and you actually keep the profits. Or if you want to donate some, it's yours to make that decision with. So I got to make my own product. I was like CEO of my own group, and that was like actually very valuable in learning how to get your return on investment and what those numbers are specifically in order before you start kind of making that profit. But going into kind of the research, one of my favorite researches that I actually got to do was through my entrepreneurship major again, but that was with my social enterprise class. So we went around and we were actually paired with different social enterprises around Indianapolis, which a social enterprise is just, it's one part non-for-profit, so 501c3, and then one part of for-profit business. So the for-profit funds the non-for-profit basically. So I actually got to do research with that and then kind of come up with my own company based off of that. And that was pretty interesting experience. And then I interned abroad in Shanghai as well, on a Butler in Asia trip basically. So that was about 10 students got sent to Shanghai, 10 to Beijing, and 10 to Singapore. They took Beijing out to Tokyo now, but I was actually able to work for a large corporation in Shanghai, like the financial district, and I was able to put that on my resume for 2 months. So that was a pretty good experience too. But all those really culminate in kind of the internships you get around town, and actually one allowed me to land a job offer. So
That's great.
nice feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. And Leah, what kinds of things have you been able to kind of like Mario was saying, put on your resume to this point?
Absolutely. I have a very similar background with the business program. So, like Mario was saying about the real business experience course, that's what I'm in right now. So, I'm currently in the throes of creating my own business and working with a group to, figure out what it looks like to be profitable and what it looks like to turn around and keep profit or be charitable, whatever that looks like for our group. Something that hasn't been a course, but I think has been really influential for me in my Butler experience has been our Butler cultural requirement. So the Butler cultural requirement, it's 8 before you graduate, which is super easy to remember. As a Butler student, you're required to attend 8 culture events, and those are all noted and very easy to find. I definitely have a very limited range of what I wanted to go to. So one of the girls in my unit was a ballet major, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the Nutcracker. I'm not super amped about it, but I'll do it. So that was one that I used for Butler Cultural Experience. And there are a lot of different visiting authors, visiting speakers that they don't correlate exactly to my field and what I want to do in my courses. However, it's been really awesome to get different viewpoints and different perspectives and different ideas that Butler really makes accessible to all students that isn't required in your courses, but is required of you to be a well-rounded student once you graduate.
Terrific. We've got about 5 minutes left, so I'd like to get to just a couple more things if we can. And Leah, you just mentioned that cultural requirement. I want to also talk a little bit about the community requirement and then service learning in general. For any of you, was that something that you were considering when you were looking at schools? Was it something that was important to you? But then also, how easy is it to get involved in that kind of service, either on campus or in Indianapolis? Does anyone have anything that comes to mind there?
With the service requirement, that was actually fulfilled through my social enterprise class. So actually, there are some classes that fulfill it that actually allow you to kind of go out into the community, learn more about it. Like I know there's a dog walking class for some students to get, their physical well-being requirement out of the way, but also get that service requirement. It's also completed through, I think, some internships as well. But really, like getting involved on campus too. There's actually like during Welcome Week, I was one of the Welcome Week coordinators, and we actually have, this big call out fair. We call it, it changes name every year. I'll just say it's a big resource fair basically. And you're able to go through and see A, all the resources, but B, over 130 different campus organizations. Some of them, beneficial for students just for your interests, others for specifically like getting involved in the community, which it's really cool if you like service and like getting involved in that. That was a high priority to me, but also it's what a lot of employers look for too. So I always stress, it's good to be able to get involved with that. It's like with college mentors, that's kind of where I found a passion with mentorship there.
And Laura, did you have anything that you wanted to add there?
Yeah, sure. I really enjoyed my ICR. It was also a class that I took for my environmental studies major. So it was like a 300 level class, but it also fulfilled the ICR requirement. And we all in our class got to go and serve on different like urban farms in Indianapolis. We got to address like hands-on issues of food security in Indianapolis, which is a really key issue. And so it was really like rewarding to get outside of the classroom and go volunteer at the farm that was Mad Farmers Collective. And it also was a really great connection where the person who started the farm, he actually was one of the like pioneer leaders in Indianapolis, like urban agriculture movements. And so if you like say his name to like, this is very niche, but if you say his name to anybody who's familiar with urban ag and Indy, like they're going to know him. And when I first met him, I had like no idea. So it was really cool. And then also it was really relaxing and honestly like mind clearing to get out on Tuesday and Thursday mornings and just like garden. And it was like so relaxing, really good for my like mental health. And then also all of the great things I was doing for the community and then class on top of it. It was a really awesome experience.
That sounds really nice. And then quickly, because I know we're running up against the time here, but I want to talk about school spirit because it's one of my favorite things about Butler. And so could and again, I'll leave this open. So could any of you speak to the school spirit? Do you have a favorite example that kind of encapsulates what it's like on campus? Or you know, how would you describe Butler school spirit?
Sorry, I just like got so excited. I saw Blue's face. He's so cute. But anyways, I kind of like was giggling when you mentioned school spirit because like one of our big traditions is fountain hopping. Like everybody does it, and during welcome week, your like first fountain is like Star Fountain in the middle of campus. And even as seniors, like this year, we were just walking around campus like after hours and just hopped in all of them because by the time you're a senior, you're supposed to do all of them. And I was really behind. So it was a really fun memory and something that I think like a lot of like Butler people like have in common and go back to laugh about and talk about.
Definitely a tradition that I hear about a fair amount. And what better, you know, segue? I don't think there's anybody that could talk about school spirit any better than Butler Blue the Fourth. So with that said, I want to transition here to kind of our next set of guests. Katie, do you have an introduction for us?
Yes, thank you, Tim. So if you've been watching, you might have been distracted, just like Laura mentioned, that we do have Butler Blue the Fourth with us. He is by far Butler royalty, and we're excited to have him and his handler, Evan. Evan is also a graduate of Butler as well. It looks like Blue is catching his afternoon nap, so we will try to not bother him by waking him up, but instead definitely appreciate all of his rolls and puppy snore from afar. But I'm going to pause for a moment and really hand this over to Evan for the next 5 minutes. If you have questions for Evan in the chat, he is more than happy to answer that, but I know he is eager to share about our live mascot program, how you can follow Blue on social media, and get more involved with Butler overall. So I'm going to pause for a moment and hand this off to you, Evan.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you so much. Oh, Blue, go back to sleep. Blue has had a busy day, which he does have quite a bit here on campus. We actually, also, I'm Evan. There's my hand. Hi. But you don't need to worry about me. Blue gets to live on campus. And so that is one thing that's really unique about our mascot program to some of the other ones is that we are here literally every single day, which is awesome because we get to hang out with students. We get to greet prospective students. We see people on our nightly walks. And so he's a really active part of our community. If you have any questions, like Katie said, please feel free to drop those into the comments or into the Q&A there. I'm happy to answer anything. So he is a little puppy. He is actually just, well, next week he turns 1 year old on the 30th, which is surprising. He was debuted back in January at Hinkle Fieldhouse to a sold-out men's basketball game versus Marquette. Fun fact about that game is we won that game by 4 points, which I did not think was a coincidence whatsoever. And he really worked for about 6 months side by side with our last mascot, Butler Blue the Third. Here's a picture on this fancy coaster I have of Butler Blue the Third. There we go. So that was our Blue's predecessor there. And then they worked together side by side. He was the mascot in training until June when Blue became the official mascot of Butler. He is our fourth ever a mascot dating back to the year 2000. And we're really happy and proud. I am very proud of him and the role that I get to have at Butler. I started off working with Butler Blue III, our last mascot, when I was a sophomore at Butler. In a volunteer role. That volunteer role turned into an internship my senior year, and then I was hired on full-time after I graduated to work with the program. And then fast forward 7 years later, and I was picked and kind of groomed to be the next mascot handler. So I'm very proud of this tradition that we have here. Our dogs have been to 2 Final Fours. They have been at Madison Square Garden many times, all over New York, DC, Florida, all across the country. And so I'm really proud of the program that we have here. And our dogs are pretty awesome. They are actually the best thing they're best at is social media. So Blue here is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can follow him at The Butler Blue. He just posted TikTok actually. Again, that's The Butler Blue on all of those platforms. And I am happy to announce that Blue here will be making his very first Butler Bound deliveries this week. So if you're not familiar with what Butler Bound is, basically we have a program where we have Blue. He gets to knock on some high school seniors' doors and paw deliver some admissions decisions. So we'll be headed to some doorsteps this week and hopefully getting some people excited to come to Butler.
Evan, you mentioned that Blue is going to turn 1 next week. How exciting. Do you have a very special birthday party planned and scheduled for him?
Yes, I'm not excited though, because I kind of wish he'd be a little puppy forever. He's kind of like my son, so it's kind of bittersweet to see it like this. But yes, we do have a COVID-friendly party for all of the students next Friday. We haven't announced details yet, but I'll tell you all, we are going to do, we're going to do some pizza, some cookies, and Blue might just be in a Halloween costume because his birthday is on October 30th. So we'll have a little walkthrough party. All the students will be able to see him, get a picture with him in a special costume, and it should be a fun time.
Does sound like a fun time. Now, one of my favorite Butler traditions happens at homecoming, and it's definitely our mascot's spotlight to work the runway and the stage. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that tradition?
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and assume you're talking about the Bulldog Beauty Contest. So this was supposed to be the 20th year of it, but that will be next year, dating all the way back to Butler Blue the First. We have had a long-standing tradition of hosting the Butler Bulldog Beauty Contest every year, the morning of homecoming. It's the first event that kicks everything off that day. And anywhere from about 60 to we've even had 125 alumni Bulldogs or alumni with their Bulldogs, local community members who have Bulldogs come and grace the stage and compete in very Bulldog categories such as Best Mean Mug. Bulldogs look great in costume, so we have Best Costume, Best Trick, and it's really a good time all around. Our dogs don't compete because that just wouldn't be fair to the rest of the Bulldogs in the community. They would just win everything. But some of the things we have seen are someone had a litter of puppies once and did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and had 7 Bulldog puppies dressed up like all of them. We had Trip's sister. Trip was our last Bulldog. She came up dressed like Trip, and it was very shocking to see the two of them next to each other because it was like identical twins. And that is absolutely one of the best days on campus here.
I cannot agree more. Definitely fun to have a campus full of Bulldogs around. Well, we are about to run out of time, but I want to leave you another minute or two. Since Blue is sound asleep, do you mind sharing just your why to Butler and before we close things off for today?
Yeah, I lost it there for a second. Did you ask my why Butler question?
Yes, your why Butler.
Absolutely. So I'm from Brownsburg, Indiana, which is pretty close to us. So Butler was kind of always on my radar. But then I finally came and visited, and the second I stepped on campus, it felt like a family. And that's easy just to say from like I'm giving my best pitch voice or whatever, but it's true. You're not going to go anywhere on campus and not recognize someone, not see somebody you know, not give a wave. People are going to hold the door open for you. They're going to ask you how you're doing and mean it. Your professors are going to get to know you for 4 years, and they're going to have a solid interest, not just in who you are as a student, but who you're going to become as an adult, and are going to help you achieve your goals. And we have a dog. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Evan and Blue, for joining us for this quick little shout out today.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thanks, Evan. And thank you all for joining us today. This concludes our session. We hope that you found today's information helpful, a little bit of an overview about Butler, the admission process, and who we are from the perspective of some of the current students who gave some great stories today. I will let you know that if you're interested in actually coming to campus and visiting, taking a tour, maybe meeting some of the students who've joined us today, we are open for campus visits currently, several visits during the day, as well as a tour only option on the weekend. I do know that we are taking extra measures during this COVID time to ensure both your safety and the safety of everyone in the Butler community. social distancing, cleaning, face masks, health screenings, and so forth. If you have any remaining questions following today's visit, I certainly recommend reaching out directly to our Office of Admission at admission@butler.edu. They will then direct you to your specific admission counselor and can help you certainly navigate the rest of your college search. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great day.
All right, a few last announcements before we end. So thank you all very much for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you to our Butler crew, our students, and our special mascot there. I don't think anything can top that for sure. So we definitely appreciate that. Students, a couple quick announcements just for you to be aware of. After this session ends, you will be sent a quick survey. We ask that you complete that survey just to kind of give us some of your feedback so we can continually improve these sessions. As I mentioned before, you will get a virtual copy and recording of this session. So you will get a copy of that in your email as well. We do have other sessions that are lasting through this week. Just as you register for this one, if you're looking at another institution, please know that InACAC is hosting other sessions this week that you can register for. And continue to watch the InACAC, so inacac.org. Continue to check that website as additional information, next steps, and things that are available to you as a student will be posted there. Don't hesitate to reach out to any institution with questions. Your staff at Butler are happy to help. We are all thinking of you during this time. We are here to assist, and we hope that you all stay well, safe, and happy. Thank you very much again, and take care. Bye. Thank you.